Today on the workbench, we're going to assemble the trusses and the box girders. So far on the workbench, we have assembled the girders, laid the ties, added the track and the guardrails, painted the bridge, weathered the deck and ties. I then added the wooden walkway and the wooden safety railing. The prototype bridge has a few details that I want to recreate with the model, and they make this a very signature build. The diagonal box girders are of an oval punch plate design, with the horizontals being a large steel I-beam. This angle better shows the oval punch plates in the diagonal braces. With the end and top and bottom courses being of a solid square design. These details can be achieved using parts from the Central Valley kits. Central Valley does offer punch plate girders that are reasonably close to what the prototype bridge has. The various truss sprues each include 2 box girders that, along with the evergreen styrene I-beams, are all I used to build the main structure of the bridge. The 150-foot truss bridge kit comes with plans that are very, very close to what I needed to build my Heart River Bridge, even though it is 50 feet too short. There ended up being a very easy solution to the length problem. I would use the plans from the 200-foot bridge, and I would eliminate the arc along the top part of the structure. Along the bottom of the horizontal box girder, I would attach a wooden yardstick, creating a straight edge to which I would work along as I built the model. I attached another yardstick along the top where these arrows are pointed, creating plans for a 200-foot Pratt truss bridge. I now had what I needed to start assembly. On these Central Valley bridges, there's a couple ways that these can be assembled. On my Heart River Bridge, I used a lot of these just plain steel girders. And the way the instructions say to assemble them is you put them together like this. Anyway, you build a girder with 2 halves, and then you end up with a piece like this. Okay, and then you have to cut and shorten or make fit several of these, and they butt together. And then this is where you have the vertical girders come together, and you have gussets. But on this first Heart River Bridge, what I did is when I put these together, I staggered them like this. And then the next one went here, here, here. You can see that in some of these pictures, but I didn't film it in a video. My logic was it was going to make a stronger union between all these girders. You know, instead of just butting these up against each other and trying to get a nice fit, keep everything straight. I tried staggering the seams. I'm not sure if I like that method. I ended up with a lot of seams that were visible, and only way to really hide those was with gussets, and I ended up with gussets kind of willy-nilly here and there in random places. But if I make another bridge, I'm probably going to do it as per the instructions and make each one of these fit into its individual place. And I'll show you how I do that when I get to it. With the long top and bottom box girders assembled and given the glue plenty of time to cure, it is now time to build and assemble the diagonal and vertical members of the bridge. Now, there are many, many angles that we are going to have to get just right in order to make a solid glue joint. Now, as with all parts of this bridge, keeping everything square, straight, and in place is very important. As the glue is curing here, I am using these little steel plates that I have because they're heavy. Now you can use anything. I was using varnish cans or buckets of paint, anything that's heavy to just set on top of here, keep everything in place, and let the glue cure completely. I decided to do the horizontal members first, and so with these 1/4-inch styrene I-beams, I must measure and cut them and make sure they fit tightly so that I get a good solid joint once cemented in. Use any tool that you have in your toolbox. I happen to have this old miter box. It seemed to work okay. But don't make these too tight between the top and the bottom box girders, because the plastic is soft and it'll tend to bow the I-beam. And you want them to lay in there straight and not look like they're sagging or bowing to one side. Here you see me measure and cut a few of them. And then I cut them just a little bit oversized so that I have room to sand or trim if I need to. Here I'm using my little miter sander from Harbor Freight. And you get a good shot of my shoulder while I do this. But I set up the angle and just quickly just touch it to the sanding disc. And I was hoping to have gotten a better shot. Well, it's a 90 degree joint, so just knock off the barnacles and trial and error, test fit, go back and forth. Doesn't take very long. Here I am shaping the top of the I-beam. I found it to be easiest just to go by sight. I mean, a 45 degree angle is pretty easy. You can see that. And all you have to do is touch it to the sanding disc as the machine's running. And here I'm using the shims that came with the kit. And I'm using those to lift the I-beam up off the surface of the drawing because they're just a little bit more narrow than the box girder pieces. So this centers them. And here's a little square that I had. And what I found is I ended up just lining it up with the drawing, the shapes and lines on the piece of paper that I was working from, the Central Valley drawing. What do I want to call it? Their little assembly drawing here. So make it fit and glue it in. And with all of the vertical I-beams in place, it is now time to put in the oval plate punch girders. It'll start looking like a bridge here pretty soon. Now these all being at diagonals, and looking here at the first one that I have finished, and in finishing this one first, I have developed, I will say, reasonably efficient system. So I will show you how I do that right now. And the hardest part is going to be getting the angles right, the length and the angles. I start on one end by getting the angle correct with the sander, and then with the other end, all I have to do is trim it and then shape it. Here you see I'm trying to get it just right. The object is to have a nice close seam between the I-beams and the box girders. There you see my shape. I've shaped it to go up against the top box girder and the I-beam. And I'm going to try to do that on the bottom also. Here I'm measuring and marking, and I go back and forth to the sander a few times. Don't remove too much, just enough so it just drops in and you're able to get a good glue joint. And I think I'm finally satisfied with this one. And this one's ready to be cemented in place. And here are the two completed sides in place along the box girder in the deck. I'm using more yardsticks, paint cans to kind of hold it in place, make sure everything's straight and true. The weights on top hold it down against the deck, and everything lines up. The girders on each side line up. All the I-beams are vertical, and I think it very closely matches the prototype so far. Now on the bridge along the top between the box girders, there are a lot of X members, and in the instructions this is called a cross lace section. And I wanted this on the bridge, but what came with the Central Valley kits wasn't exactly like what was on the prototype. So all I did was cut and trimmed and spliced, and I came up with something that was close to the prototype, and I just kind of went with it because all of this adds a lot of clutter, and I thought the overall effect was more important than trying to be exact and worrying about too much accuracy here. So this is what I did. You can do what you want on your bridge, but it turned out Here I am gluing these fabricated pieces in between the two halves of the box girder sections. This joins them up, and be careful, these are very delicate. They will crush easily. And here I am just gluing it in, making sure it's straight and centered. And as for the X member pieces, I just added those as per the instructions. So nothing too fancy there. And double checking one more time, getting it straight in place where I want it. Do this 6 times and admire your work. Sit back and admire your bridge. And with that, I add just a few more details, most of them being I-beams on the ends of the bridge. I used leftover styrene I-beams from the vertical members that were added to the bridge earlier. And a signature feature of this bridge on each end is an A-shaped structure made out of I-beams. And this bridge wouldn't be complete without it. And with that, I conclude this episode. And in our next episode, I will show you how I made gussets and even cast them in resin when I didn't have exactly what I needed.